Mercedes Mone has fans debating over a comment that she made about Bayley. Yeah, Bayley, her former pal from WWE, her former tag team partner, her former rival. In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what she had to say, why it's dividing fans, why they're debating about it, and where I lie with it. Because Bayley, Mercedes Mone, they are tied to the hip, and I think they will always be tied to the hip. History makers, trailblazers, game changers, any cliche you want to throw in there, that would describe Bayley and Mercedes Mone. And I say that for a few different reasons. One, they are part of the four horsewomen of WWE, not to be mistaken about the four horsewomen of MMA. Mercedes Mone, aka Sasha Banks, Bayley, Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, you know the names. They made up a core group of NXT talents. They were on the forefront of helping change women's wrestling down in NXT, along the side of the likes of Saraya, AJ Lee, Natalia, Emma, you know the names. They helped shift what we know women's wrestling as. Sure, your Sarayas and your Natalias and your AJ Lees and your Emmas, they may have made it to the main roster before the four horsewomen of WWE, and they helped change the course of that. But I think in NXT, when it comes to Mercedes Mone and Bayley, they were the ones that really, really changed the game and showed fans, hey, they're doing this awesome wrestling down in NXT. Hey, the women in NXT are working as good, if not better, than some men on the main roster. Some of the men in the main event of NXT events. Why can't we have this on the main roster? That's what they were able to do. They created the revolution, then the evolution, and now what we know today's pro wrestling as the golden era of women's wrestling. Now, during a recent edition of her Mone mag, the AEW TBS champion Mercedes Mone discussed her relationship with Bayley. And she did so in a very interesting way. That's what she would say. From the moment I met Bayley, we had an instant connection. I knew she was just like me. We loved wrestling in the same genuine way. Became best friends instantly. I think she's my greatest opponent of all time because we are best friends. When I get to try the moves that I've wanted to try, Bayley gets it. Her love, passion, and drive for wrestling like mine has us trying to bring out the best in one another. In regards to what they want for the future of women's wrestling, we both want the same for women's wrestling. I never felt a downside to wrestling her either. If we didn't like how something went in a match, we would discuss it and try to fix it for the next one. In addition, I always knew I would be protected in the ring with her and we would be able to be creative in putting our matches together. So, a lot to break down there. Let's get into what they want for women's wrestling. Sure, right? They want the best for women's wrestling. They want it to thrive and to succeed and grow, right? They want to have women exclusive shows, I'm sure, one day. I'm sure they want to have another Evolution, an Evolution 2 and 3 and 4, and etc. What she has dividing fans on is the fact that she is her best opponent. Bayley is the greatest opponent that Sasha Banks, Mercedes Mone has ever worked with. She's saying that she's better than Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, Willow Nightingale, Britt Baker. The list goes on and on. Asuka's. Is that true, though? I don't think so. And I'll tell you why. Yes, Mercedes Mone has a ton of history with Bayley. They're women's tag team champions. They're former foes. They're former alliance members. Obviously, the four horsewomen of WWE. But would you have Bayley at the top of your list? No, I wouldn't. Would I say that Mercedes Mone is Bayley's best opponent? I would probably say that. But Mone, I feel like, is in a different category. And I'm going to name you who I think is her greatest opponent in a minute. I think Bayley and Mercedes Mone has history to the point where they create magic every single time they step foot inside of the squared circle, whether it be as opponents or in alliance members, whether it's singles matches, tag team matches, talk show segments, you name it. The only problem is there's one name that sticks out in my mind who is Mercedes Mone's greatest opponent. You probably might have guessed it. It's Charlotte Flair. first women's Hell in a Cell match, the first technically women's match of the modern era at WrestleMania 32, when they worked a triple threat match. Charlotte Flair rebranded the Divas Championship into the Women's Championship. I'm just saying. Just saying. There's multiple matches in which Mercedes Mone and Charlotte Flair have worked together. There's multiple matches in which you will remember them working together. More importantly, though, I think in addition to good matches, great in-ring work, great psychology, I think you also have to have great star power. Is Charlotte Flair a bigger name than Bayley? Yeah. Is Charlotte Flair a bigger name than Mercedes Mone? Well, now we're getting debating. If I had to take a stab at it, I'm going to say Charlotte Flair's a bigger name. She has been pushed as the dominant star in WWE for its women's division for over a decade now, right? From NXT to the main roster. She's going to break John Cena's and her father's world title record one day. She's very close already. We'll see what Mercedes Mone can do in AEW. We can see what she does in New Japan. I think it's going to be a very tall task to see her succeed and do better than she did in WWE. That ain't a shot at AEW. That's just a factual statement. WWE is the biggest game in town. Has been, probably always will be. They got the market share. They got the platform. They got enough money. They got enough sponsors. They got enough talent. They got enough fans. If Vince McMahon couldn't put them out of business, I don't know how Triple H can. Although I don't want him to prove me wrong. I think Mercedes Mone will go down as one of the greatest in-ring workers of all time, regardless of gender. But I think she's going to be most remembered as Sasha Banks in WWE. If I had to guess, I'm going to say Mercedes Mone returns to WWE one day. Could be when she's still active, wrestling in the ring. Could be after her days are long gone. But I think she's going to go back to WWE. That's not to say that I don't think her in AEW is a good thing or a bad thing. I actually think it's a great thing because AEW needs top-tier talent. They need top-tier talent to compete. They need top-tier talent to elevate and create new stars. That's what Mercedes Mone does. They also bring in eyeballs. They bring in butts and seats. It's what Mercedes Mone is doing in all elite wrestling, but that's also what she's doing to get fans talking.